Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday night and welcome back to the place to race, Simsport Racing, brought to you by Simsport Solutions. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, your official lead commentator, and alongside me as always, good old Steve Proudley. How are you, buddy? You keeping well?
I'm keeping very well, mate, but just a little bit less of the old, please, buddy. I'm not that old, but yeah, looking forward to some fantastic racing tonight. Brands Hatch, Garden of England. Absolutely awesome circuit, lots of history, lots of famous drivers pedalled their wares around this circuit, and I think we're in for a cracker tonight.
Yes, indeed. We're going to be racing for 60 minutes around the Grand Prix circuit from the 2003 iteration, which in length is 2.433 miles, 3.908 kilometres, 9 turns, some iconic corners here. The current lap record held around this is by Ireland's Adam Carroll in the A1GP series back in 2009. But we're going to have good old GT3 power. Season 5, the first of 6 rounds in a combination. We're not going to go to the double-header 30-minute sprint races, but as you can see, we've already had a test race where 37 drivers decided to jump on board. We've got a bumper grid tonight. Tonight is a 60-minute, flat-out, full-throttle adventure around the Garden of England. Then, in a couple of weeks' time, we head to South Africa, to Kyalami for a 90-minute encounter, before the halfway point is at Imola for 60 minutes on the 7th of February. Circuit Zandvoort on the 21st of February for 90 minutes. It's either going to be Alton Park or Laguna Seca, dependent on what's going to happen. It looks like it is going to be Laguna Seca more than likely, so that's on the 7th of March, and that is our penultimate race evening. But the season finale could more than likely be Mount Panorama or Donington Park, depending on what happens with regards to Assetto Corsa Competizione in the coming weeks. That is a 2-hour encounter, the season finale on the 21st of March. And Steve, we've had so many new drivers sign up. The community is growing. 650 plus community members, including yourself and I, and many other people. We've had a few messages coming in. Good evening, John Monroe. Good evening, Mark Raddenbury. Good evening, Daniel Parker. A real shame. He is one of our meant to be one of our grids from the Lost Jaguar Racing crew. The Jaguar is back once again. So that puts their numbers down to 1, unfortunately. But Steve, this circuit, steeped in motorsport tradition, it's a really good way to kickstart the season. Season 5, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, with sort of 28, 29 cars, not quite sure what the final grid count is, but yeah, it's going to be action-packed. It's going to be, as you said, lights out to checkered flag racing, so there's no pit strategies. It's just a case of keep it clean and try and hit the front and get away from the guys. And first round of the season, points to score, not just points for pros, but we are running pro and AM class this season, so we do have 2 championships within a championship, so it just gives everybody a little bit of something extra to fight for.
Yeah, so I think what we're going to do more than likely is I think let's go for a hot lap, shall we, around Brands Hatch, just give you all at home a real idea of how tricky it is around this circuit. Welcome on board Brands Hatch on the Ferrari 488 GT3 with Stephen Haley in the number 24. Into Paddock Hill Bend, dropping down from 5th to 3rd at about 155 kph, through the dip, up the Haywood Hill, through into Druids, down to first gear, 80 kilometres an hour, the slowest part on the circuit, now putting the power down, and accelerates up to 3rd at 170, before getting back on the brakes for 2nd at 120 through Graham Hill Bend. Now up the Cooper Straight, accelerating up to 190 kilometres an hour in 4th gear before dropping down a couple of gears to 115 kph on the apex through Surtees. Now the long run down to Hawthorne Bend via Pilgrim's Drop. The Ferrari now accelerates its way up to 5th gear, 240 kilometres an hour before putting on the brakes on the last marker board. 4th gear at 175 through the first part through Hawthorns, down the Minter Straight through to Westfield, which is then taken at 3rd gear at 145 and accelerates through Dingle Dell, for putting on the anchors ever so slightly for Sheen Curve at 3rd gear at 160, before again dropping down a further gear down to Stirling's at 125 on the apex. And now the final part of the circuit itself, 2.433 miles, 3.916 kilometres. We're now going to head through into Clark Curve, down to 3rd gear at 140 kilometres an hour before putting down the power So you can see the fuel level low is meaning it's a qualifying run. Towards the right-hand side we go, and across the line in just over 1 minute 22 seconds. So very shortly we'll be getting underway with qualifying here. Now the format will be a 20-minute qualifying session. The server time will be set at 3 p.m. No mandatory pit stops required, as Steve said earlier on, just 60 minutes. And we have got random weather settings at the moment. The temperature looking at around 17 degrees Celsius, a bit of cloud in the sky, but definitely plenty of sunshine. But Steve, let's have a look at some of the, well, we do have the usual suspects, as I say, and that means to the regulars that people will know through the past few seasons, not just of GT3, but of GT4. Obviously, our new champion for Season 3 in GT4, Karolis Sipavicius, now has moved up to the big time, along with teammate Lucas Zentalis. So as you can see, you can go to Pitwall.live and actually log in via a Google or a Gmail or a Facebook account, and that is 100% free. It'll actually give you a map track. It'll also give you the sector times, the laps, who's in what car, that kind of stuff as well. You know, we've got a lot of drivers that have moved up from GT3, but I also see quite a new amount of faces as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The community is growing continuously, and we, you know, with the sign-ups, the GT3 sign-up was full pretty quickly. I think it only took a few days, 2 or 3 days, and it was full. So it's absolutely awesome to see. It is really good to see some of the guys that joined us for the GT4s deciding to move up to the GT3s. As you say, we've got some of the usual suspects in there. We've got Steve Haley, we've got Dave Hedges, we've got Regan Mitchell, you know, we've Chris Pinchbeck, you know, a lot of the names that have been racing the GT3s for many, many years. Let's not forget the new machinery that's on the grid as well this evening. We've got the new Evo cars which are eligible for this season. So there is the Ferrari Evo, the Mercedes Evo, you know, so there's some new machinery out there. We've got Jags on the grid, we've got Nissans on the grid, we have a few McLarens on the grid, so we've got a fantastic mix of cars as well, Alex, this evening, so that's always good to see as well.
Good evening to Angus Martin and, of course, Chris Pinchbeck's mum, Jean. She's saying good luck to everyone for the new season. Good luck especially to Pinchy. Well, Chris is going to be driving in a new car again. He's going into the 2020 Evo variety of the Mercedes AMG GT3. Also, we've got a Simsport Racing team back again, and this time it is Drifter Dave and Sideways Steve, Dave Hedges and Stephen Haley. They're going to be running in the Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo from 2020. Also, Ross McGregor, who's raced with us before, he's in the Simply Race Zancho number 15 Bentley Continental. It seems to be a tried and trusted one. So obviously, shout out to John Monroe. Stain Passport, he is going in the Fun Q 444 Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. And is not the only Lamborghini that's going to be on here. We've got Martinez Sidonovas in the Sim Academy 112 entry.
Easy for you to say, Alex.
Yeah, exactly. I've got all these names to try and remember and say, and Steve just goes, "I'll leave you to it, Alex." He always drops me out of the frying pan and into the fire.
Absolutely.
You know, but yeah, we've got quite a few new drivers. We've got a few Lamborghinis. We've got some Lexuses as well. The Aston Martin Vantage V8 GT3, a few Porsches as well, and we're getting rather close to qualifying. But Steve, the biggest test, the amount of elevation changes, you know, the dip through Paddock Hill Bend, up the Hailwood Hill through to Druids, and then you've obviously got Westfields going into Dingle Dell. There is so much. You're going to have to be literally eyeballs on stalks the whole way through the 60 minutes.
It's a difficult track, is Brands Hatch. You know, let's not understate that fact that, you know, the obvious overtaking opportunity is braking for Paddock Hill Bend, and then potentially maybe up to Druids. Other than that, it's a single file, follow them through unless the guy in front makes a mistake. So I think tonight is all about keeping it clean, keeping it safe, but putting as much pressure on the car in front as possible and trying to force them to make the mistake, because forcing an overtake around here is very, very difficult, and quite often it will result in contact, or at least one of the cars running wide, if not both, running off the track. So it's a very technical track, it's a difficult track to pass, it's very narrow, but you know, these boys are experienced. We've got a very high quality grid. As John Munro's just pointed out in the chat, you know, he just mentioned that he's gutted he's not taking part. He thinks it's going to be a very competitive season. I agree with you, John. I think it is, and I think it's great to see where Simsport's got to this point now, where we have got one of the most competitive grids, I believe, in sim racing out here tonight, and I think it's going to be fantastic to watch.
Okay, qualifying now officially underway. We are 18 and a half minutes remaining in this session. As you can see by the weather meter up at the top right-hand corner, which also gives you the condition of the track, which is currently optimum. For the next 18 minutes and 20 seconds, it is going to be cloudy overhead but dry. Air temperature 17 degrees Celsius, track temperature 23 degrees Celsius, and there is an 8 km/h wind. Wow. As we're with Charlie Crossland. Now that is really going to cause a bit of maybe a potential problem or two, depending on which part of the circuit you're on.
I'm going to say, Alex, I'm just looking at that track map on the right-hand side of the screen there, and look at all those dots there. There's a little bit of space at the back end of the circuit now, and the guys could spread out a little bit more, but some of the guys don't look to be giving themselves a lot of room. They're following very, very close at the moment. And that's all well and good, you know, as long as the guy in front doesn't make a mistake, because that can soon scupper your chances of a good lap. You know, the guys need to be allowing themselves enough room and not following too close behind, because, you know, as we see there, one car just runs straight off. I think that's Kelsey running off into the gravel trap there, rejoining. But yeah, you need to allow yourself enough room, and that's easier said than done when there's, what are we looking at, 30 odd cars it is now, I believe. 38 cars on track at the moment, round Brands Hatch. It's going to be some tight qualifying, and it's going to be difficult to find room.
That's going to be even tighter going into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time, and especially going down the dip into Halewood Hill. I'm excited, but I'm also nervous about this race, Steve, because as soon as it said Brands Hatch was the first round, I went, right, let's just wait for the fireworks to happen, and that could very much clearly be the case, as we are waiting for times to come in. They are starting to do so at the moment. And
some fantastic images here from our race director, Mike Yao. This is new for this season. We've got the 3 screens up so you can all follow a little bit of action and choose the car you want. Obviously, you can see on the timing towers which car we are following. Also, you can see the red and white on the numbers denoting which class the cars are in. So obviously now we're following Ross McGregor, who currently is in pole position with a 1 minute 22.998. We have seen times of low 22s in practice, or mid to low 22s, and indeed I think the hot lap that we saw with the Ferrari was at 1:22.6. So depending on track temp and whatnot is what they can it'll dictate what times they can extract out the cars. And with the cloud cover, it may just keep those track temperatures down a little bit. We can see that they're currently at 23 degrees, which is relatively cold for a racetrack temperature.
So here's Stephen Haley, who we actually went on board with for the hot lap, and he's currently running P7, and he's just gone P2, 0.543 behind Ross McGregor. Dave Hedges rounds out the top 3 in the second of these Simsport Racing Ferraris, as Ross McGregor goes, he even increases that gap, but then Charlie Crossland from Team Forzilla goes to within 0.16 of a second. So McGregor's fastest with a 22.821. Crossland just over a tenth and a half behind. Steve Haley, Dave Hedges, then it's Dean Riley, Yannick Möller, who we first encountered in Season 2 GT4, now is in the Ferrari, and the Ferrari looks to be the most prestigious mark that is in the top 10. You've got Supervicious in the leading Nissan, and then Regan Mitchell has decided to switch machinery to the McLaren this time. So
there's a few of the drivers taken the McLaren, which is an interesting choice because it hasn't been the most popular car in ACC from the start. To be fair, it's a very it's quick at some tracks and not so quick at some of the others. It's an interesting one. It's difficult to get the best out of it at all the tracks. So it's good to see a few people taking up the challenge. It'll be interesting to see how they get on throughout the season with that one, Alex.
Yeah, so we're now on board with Ranjiv Kalsi. He considers himself the work sim racing Ferrari driver. Well, that's in jet. That we all love Ranji. He's stayed true with the Ferrari, and he's also stayed with the same race number every time I've seen him here on Simsport Racing. We're now going on board with him, and this is going to be heading into Hawthorns. So taking it through at about third gear at 170 clicks. Now down the midter straight into Westfield. A little bit of a dip on the brakes. Taking as much curve as he dare, but not exceed track limits. Through Dingledale now. And then it's on the brakes heavily for Sheen curve before the 90 left at Stirling's. And the marker boards have already been decimated by some of the other drivers.
This has to be said. It's a pretty tidy lap. Is this one from Ranj? I'll be surprised if he doesn't improve on this on his current place. And I expect to see Ranj qualifying in, I would say, in the top 15. To be honest, based on his practice times.
Yeah, he goes to the right-hand side, hugs the wall, crosses the line at over 220 kilometres an hour, increases his move up the order. And look, Dave Hedges has got to within 57 thousandths of Ross McGregor. So the fight for pole position. So looks like the 22-3 entry, and that is of Rich Smith from the Falcon Esports crew. He's one of our regulars as well. He's partnered with Dean Riley. They're both running in the Mercedes AMG Evo. There's Regan Mitchell in the number 69 car. He's definitely one that we always keeps us in suspense and pulls off dynamite moves like John Monroe might remember from Monza for the driver swap GT3 finale. Is all sideways. There. And there is now that is definitely a Harlequin-esque pattern effect on Aaron Martin Pilkington's number 111.
That's a standout livery, is that one, isn't it? Look at me, and it's awesome, and he's currently half a second up, I believe, on his best lap. So he's as long as the cars in front don't hold him up. We were talking about space, and that car nicely moves out of the way and allows Aaron on his way. So hopefully he didn't lose any time. We will find out very soon as he's approaching the final bend. But I think he may just have lost some time there, cutting through the traffic.
Ross McGregor has gone even quicker, 122.542.
He's the man.
That's craziness.
He's the man.
There's Stane Passpont in the triple four, running in the Nomad colours, going through Paddock Hill Bend. Haley is round about 6/10 up on what he has done previously. He's got one of the Wild Things McLarens in front.
Bit of a slipstream may just help him, as long as it didn't hold him up initially. But he's up to fourth there. So
that was a good run by Steve Haley. There's Yannick Muller is a second up from where he has been previously.
This is sorry to interrupt, Alec. This is just concertinaing the times up, though, isn't it? I mean, look, there's not much between any of them, and every time these guys are putting a faster lap in, these are guys from outside the top 10 squeezing into the top 10, and really, the times are just getting so close now. It's absolutely brilliant driving, brilliant racing, and it's going to be difficult. I think it's a Ross McGregor.
Yannick Muller, P2.
Muller second. Look at that gap point, 0.60. That doesn't get much closer.
He clawed back 1.3 seconds. It looks like Aaron Martin Pilkington is also up. There are drivers really pushing the envelope here because there's so much dust being flung up as now Martin Pilkington sweeps towards the outside coming through Clark Curve. He's going to try and hug the inside as far as he dare. Goes P3, top three covered by 0.243 seconds. It's 3/10 covering the top four here at the moment. So we're halfway through the qualification session, but Ross McGregor's been the one to, as someone's gone very, very wide through the gravel off of Paddock Hill Bend. And that was one of the Ferraris, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget, Alex, the emphasis has to be on qualifying here, because obviously in the build-up we were just talking about how difficult it is to overtake at Brands Hatch, and these guys, they know they've got to try and get in that top 10. Talking to Steve Haley before the race, we were saying you really need to be at the sharp end. He was aiming, he needed to be in the top 6 really if he could. He's currently in 6th place. It's super, super important, because I wouldn't want to be anywhere lower than 10th on the grid with a pack like this going round Brands Hatch, because it is going to be very hard to make up positions.
It's definitely a GT3 wolf pack tonight, and at the moment Ross McGregor is leading said wolf pack. There's Simon Crane in the number 53 Pulse Simsport entry, currently running in 9th position at the moment, and he's just under 7/10 off of Ross McGregor. Looks like it's still rather all to play for, and from McGregor down to Santoro, it is 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, Simon had a really good showing in the pre-season race last week at Barcelona. Forgive me, I can't quite remember where he finished, but I know he was certainly in the top 5. So he's a quick driver, and he's potentially out of position where he is now, but I think he is up on this lap. So if he can just keep it all together now as he's coming round onto the start-finish straight, we will see very, very soon how much of an improvement he's going to make, if any. And indeed, that's 7th place, so he's just under 5/10 off pole in 7th place. We now have the top 12 pretty much covered by a second.
Well, 8 minutes and 15 seconds still to go in this qualifying session for the opening round of Season 5 GT3 here on Simsport Racing. Dave Hedges running P5 at the moment, just over 0.33 seconds off of Ross McGregor, looking to be a little bit neat and tidy. Has a little bit of a clip with the grass on the outside of Sterling's. Through into Clark Curve comes the Ferrari. And now he's going to sweep towards the outside as far as he dare. Pull the car to the right-hand side. Try and stay close to the wall as humanly possible. He crosses the line, goes P3.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic on board with Passport now as well. He was in 13th place with a little bit of time to make up, but he's certainly not a guy that will give up, and he's talented enough to get into the top 10, albeit it's going to be very, very difficult with the fine margins we're talking about and we're seeing this evening. There's a few new drivers up ahead of him, a few unknowns, but certainly definitely looking to improve, and I think didn't improve on that lap, but I think he's carrying on to try and get another flying lap in.
Okay, so there's your provisional pole sitter, Ross McGregor, with 7 minutes still on the clock to go. He's just gone through Hawthorns, now going down the Derek Minter straight through into Westfields, absolutely committed in the Bentley as Simon Crane has just gone off the track, but it's gone P2. 15 thousandths of a second separates provisional pole, and then Yannick Muller makes the top 3 covered by 6/100ths. That is incredibly close in this first opening round out of 6 for the season. So Simon Crane brought out the yellow flags, a huge plume of dust that Ross McGregor quite literally barrels his way through in the Bentley. He's a 10th up. Now he's going to pull to the right-hand side, stay as close to the wall as he dare, and might get a little bit of slipstream. Goes up to 1 minute 22.467 and extends the gap to Simon Crane to just under a 10th. Regan Mitchell is about to cross the line very shortly, and he goes P4, top 4 covered by just under 1 3/4 tenths of a second, with Dave Hedges rounding out the top 5. That's 0.309 for him to find in the battle for pole position.
Yeah, there's a few guys I would say maybe potentially out of position at the moment. I mean, Rich Smith, Dean Riley, 9th and 10th. I would expect those guys a little bit higher up. That's just showing the quality of the field. Miles Dixon, I believe, that is down in 28th place. Yeah, another good driver there that I would expect to be a lot further up. It's just showing how difficult it is, not only against the quality of field that we've got, but I think finding the space on the track to get your lap in without tripping over somebody. It's just very, very difficult, as we just seen Haley there, just almost drifting at that point there through the corner and just holding that car on the tracks, pushing. He's definitely trying to get himself up from that 8th place, albeit he's only 4/10ths off pole position in 8th. He doesn't need much of an improvement time-wise to jump up 2 or 3 places. Literally a 10th or 2 would put him into 4th or 5th place.
Right, he's now coming through Clark Curve. He was definitely doing the old sideways Steve treatment a little bit earlier on in the lap, but now he's about to come across the line, and on that particular occasion doesn't improve. It was a 1 minute 24, well off where he would have wanted to have been, but obviously with the sideways moment, they do say that in drifting it's one of the quickest ways for them to go fast, but in a GT3 car it is about making sure you turn, point and shoot effectively. Charlie Crossland in the number 66 Team Fordzilla Mercedes-AMG GT3 looking to improve from 7th position. He's been a regular for the last couple of seasons in both GT3 and GT4. He's got raw pace. There have been some pitfalls that have put him back, but he's gone to within 2/10 of Ross McGregor, goes P5.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I mean, look at Pinchbeck down in 12th. That's another driver. I mean, he was a few moments ago, he was still down in 21st, I think. So he's obviously just put a good lap in and got himself up to 12th place. But again, Chris, I would think him personally would be expecting to be in the top 10 easily, top 7, top 8, but currently down in 12th place. That's not going to be a nice place to be in the opening laps, as they're all jostling for position and just sort of, finding their feet, getting their rhythm, and just trying to fight their way through. It's going to be very, very difficult tonight, as we just watching Derula, I think that is, in the Ferrari coming round. He's currently in 11th, and I think he's our top AM driver at the moment, so putting on a good show. 1 second just over off pole position at the moment.
Yeah, so Ross McGregor still keeping a hold of pole position with 3 minutes and 18 seconds still to go. Martin Dergala in the Schumi Get Well Soon 458 Ferrari, and he is partnered with Sebastian de Tolanera. So one of their drivers is running in Pro, that's Martin, and Sebastian is running in the AM class. Dean Riley coming across the line in the number 22, goes up to P9 on a 1 minute 23.061, as looks like that might have been Yannick Muller going off at Paddock Hill Bend, going a bit too wide, going in through the gravel. Aaron Martin Pilkington looking to improve once again. The top 7 covered by 0.318 seconds in the dying stages of qualifying. So it is Ross McGregor from Simon Crane with Yannick Muller, Regan Mitchell, Charlie Crossland, Dave Hedges, and this man on your screens here, Aaron Martin Pilkington, in 7th position.
I said, didn't I, to watch out for Simon Crane, and he's now in, like you said, he's just in 2nd position, and he's literally a few thousandth off that pole position time. So we've got 2 guys on the front row within, thousandths of a second of each other. So it should be a humdinger into Paddock Hill. We just see a bit of contact there, a bit of door rubbing. It looked like, I don't know if that's Calci on the inside there, but it was Santoro that was just connected with a bit there. So hopefully he's not on a fast lap, and if he is, hopefully it hasn't affected him too much.
No, hopefully not. That I don't think that was Ranjiv Kalsi. That might have been someone completely different. I did notice a couple of letters. There's Evan Davas, one of the Wild Things Racing team. He's in the number 74, and in the sister number 79 car, Denise Pope, one who started with us here at Simsport Racing. Davas actually goes very, very wide. That was through Hawthorne. So Denise Pope and Evan Davas running in the AM class this time around. They've been with us, I think, for the last couple of seasons in GT4, so it's good to see them come up to the GT3 party here on Simsport Racing as we get into the last 65 or so seconds here for qualifying for round 1 here for Season 5 GT3 at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, and I don't think anything's really going to change at the top of the table. It would be difficult to improve much on what Mr. McGregor's already done, and it's all looking very, very tight as we're just looking a little bit further down the field. It's Adam Zelic as well, 23rd at the moment. Adam, another seasoned driver, potentially not having the best qualifying session. Would expect to see Adam a little bit further up, albeit it's his first time out really in the McLaren as well, so maybe it's the curse of a new car. He's maybe just not quite gelled with it yet, and may improve as the race goes on.
Well, he's gone from the Merc to the Macca, isn't he? We know that Adam, for the last couple of seasons, has favoured a Falterbach's finest, but now he's gone with Woking, and it's, I think, yeah, it's going to be a learning experience for him, but we are into the last 10 seconds of qualifying here, ahead of a 60-minute race around the Garden of England here at Brands Hatch. And there is Michaelis Jorgaitis in the 142 MJ Racing Lexus, currently rounding out the top 29, covered by just under 2.1 seconds. Checkered is out for the session here at Brands Hatch, as some drivers still on their final flying lap. But Steve, I think it's more than likely that Ross McGregor has done the business.
I believe so, yeah, but I'm just looking further down the field here. Pixley 24th in the Jag. That's not a bad performance from Richard in the Jaguar, because we know the Jag's got a lot of straight line speed, but round Brands Hatch, it doesn't really have the option to stretch its legs as much as other circuits. So that's a solid drive from Pixley there to get that into 24th. And yeah, like you say, I think McGregor, he'll have done enough to keep that on pole position there. By the tightest of margins from Crane, but albeit that is it. That's all he has to do. He's on pole position, and he's advantage McGregor for the start.
Yeah, so what a result there for Ross McGregor here at the season opener for Season 5 GT3, live and uninterrupted through the next couple of hours or so on Simsport Racing. You can go to the place to race at simsport-racing.com to get involved with the community. And Steve, just give us a bit more info about the Pro and Am classes, how they were decided coming into this season.
So basically, anybody that has raced with Simsport before, we took their best championship results. So if they competed in the GT4s or GT3s, if they were in the top 15, they're automatically a pro. If they're outside of the top 15, they would be an AM. Anybody new to Simsport Racing would be put in straight away as a pro, but that is assessed. So basically, we had a pre-season race last week. We've made some adjustments to the entries this week, downgraded a couple of guys to AM, and we will be watching this race, and at the end of this race we may also make some tweaks, and after that we should be pretty much settled on Pro and Am classes, so everybody's really competing fairly with people around them for a Pro Championship and an Am Championship.
Thank you very much for that welcome insight. Of course, a bit more news. GT4 Season 4 gets underway next Wednesday at Imola, the Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari. Then we have 6 respective weeks heading to Zolder, Zandvoort, Misano, Paul Ricard and the Hungaroring, which is going to be really interesting because Carole Sipavicius, if he's coming back, he's got a title to defend. We've had 3 respective champions in the first 3 seasons. We are awaiting for the green flag to get things underway. And at the moment, after qualification, the number 15 Bentley of Zansho Simsport, Simply Race Zansho, in the number 15, takes pole position ahead of Simon Crane. Yannick Muller will round out the top 3 positions in the highest place Ferrari 488 in the 143. Then it's Regan Mitchell, Charlie Crossland, Dave Hedges, and then it is the 111 of Aaron Martin Pilkington in that Harlequin-esque McLaren 720S GT3. Then it's Stephen Haley, and then we've got the 223 of Rich Smith in the first of the Falcon Esports Mercedes AMG GT3 Evos. Then it is the number 22 of his teammates, so they occupy row number 5 and complete the top 10 of Dean Riley. Then it is the number 36 Aston Martin, and that is for Alvaro. I'm trying to get these names right now as well. You've really put me on the spot.
I'm not helping either, am I, Alex?
Yeah, I know you're not going to help me. No, you charlatan.
I can make
Alvaras Mikus, there we go. Roberto Santoro, Martin Dorgala, Chris Pinchbeck and Ranjif Kalsi round out the top 15, followed by Stijn Passpont, and then we've got Luke Hannon Fitzgerald, Karolis Sipavicius, Gerard Debar, Adam Isalovic rounding out the top 20. 38 cars here, Steve. That is ridiculous.
It's a fantastic turnout, and it's going to be ridiculous around Brands Hatch. Like I keep saying, I've said it twice already, it's a very, very tight track. the start is going to be all important. I'm hoping that nobody is too bullish on the start, too aggressive. We want them all to get through the first couple of laps clean, because anybody who races know that those first couple of laps are the crucial ones. You've literally got to get into your rhythm, you've got to find your pace, settle down, get some extra heat into the tyres, because the tyres and brakes, although they're preheated, although they get a full warm-up lap, they're still not up to that optimum temperature, and it does take a couple of laps to get there. And the nature of Brands Hatch, it's not forgiving if you're pushing too hard in those opening laps. And when the cars are bunched up, one car goes sideways, there's your roadblock for probably, depending how far down the field is, but potentially, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars could all be affected by one person's mistake. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be testing. Hopefully the lads, keep it all together, stay calm, stay controlled, and just look to the long game of the 60 minutes and the checkered flag.
Well, we've got just under 45 seconds. I have to give a shout out to our resident Flying Dutchman, Mark Neutelings. He's got the Warsteiner on the side of his BMW M6 GT3. That is a tribute to good old German beer sponsorship, and we've got it here on Simsport Racing. We've got some comments coming in. Angus Martin cheering on Stain Passport. He said, might be ex-teammates, but I'll always support the fun Q car. We've also had one of the team from Team Fordzilla, TFZ Frubo, saying hashtag Team Crossland and Martin Pilkington. Okay, so we've got Charlie Crossland and Aaron Martin Pilkington's. I think that's more like a kaleidoscope, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just one more person to shout out as well, Alex. We have one of the main men missing this evening, Mr. Kieran Vidago, unfortunately suffering with COVID. Messaged us this afternoon. He was going to try and race, but he's just really under the weather. So hope you're feeling better soon, Kieran, and I'd like to see you on track on Wednesday night in the GT4s if possible, buddy.
Yes, indeed, because we have got some news to bring to you at the end of this broadcast. Very exciting developments here at Simsport Racing, but they are now underway with the official formation lap. 60 minutes here at Brands Hatch Grand Prix Circuit, 2.433 miles, 3.916 kilometres, 38 cars. And this is where it's going to get interesting, Steve. The conditions are getting... Yeah. Yeah, I think you took the words right. I think you took the phrase right out of my mouth there and stole a bit of thunder, but never mind. But look, it's sunny. There's some cloud in the skies. That's for the next 30 minutes of this race. There's no pit stops required. 17 degrees air temperature, 23 degrees track temperature, optimum. So we are dry at the moment. Obviously, with season 5, we are throwing in random weather selection, so it could change at the drop of the hat. I'm hoping that we're going to get a good dry race here at Brands Hatch, based in West Kingsdown in Kent, the Garden of England. And Ross McGregor is making sure that everyone follows him. So it's a case of follow the leader as they now make their way through Hawthorns, down through Derek Minter Straight. And you can see top left, Regan Mitchell weaving from side to side, trying to get some tyre pressures into that rubber, and then also trying to warm up the brakes, because what you don't want, Steve, is to go into Paddock Hill Bend with all your weapons sharp as a razor. Yeah, absolutely, and it is to the advantage to weave now to try and get some heat into the tyres, and as you rightly say, heat into the brakes, because if you can gain the slightest advantage by just having your tyres working that little bit better, your brakes biting that little bit better, it will set you up for a good opening start, potentially over someone who doesn't do quite as good a job as you on this warm-up lap now. So it'll be interesting to see. It's going to be difficult for the guys in the middle of the pack anyway, from sort of 6th, 7th backwards. You're just going to be in a field of cars and you're all going to be fighting over the same piece of tarmac. But I'm going to hand over to you now, because you do the lights out so much better than I do. Ladies and gentlemen, 60 minutes here at Brands Hatch. It is McGregor and Crane. It is a Bentley front row on British soil as we wait for the rest of the field. 38 cars in total. They slowed to a crawl, 2 by 2. Hurrah here at Brands Hatch. Are we ready? Are we set? Let's go. Green, green, green for the first round of Season 5 as McGregor gets an absolute flyer of a start through into Paddock Hill Bend. Yannick Muller keeping in third place. Charlie Crosland trying to go up the inside of Regan Mitchell, going up into the Hailwood Hill for the first time as they approach Druids. Crane trying to go round the outside. So it's Bentley v Bentley. Crane pushed towards the outside. Yannick Muller looking for a sniff up the inside, going to Graham Hill. But at the moment, Charlie Crosland now pounces up the inside of the German as there's been a massive carambolage at the top of Druids. 3 cars involved, so someone's been turned around the wrong way. Possibly one of the Wild Things McLarens, I think, as Crane trying to go up the inside of McGregor's through Surtees, and they're going side by side. Down Pilgrim's Drop. Charlie Crosland in pursuit. He's up into third position. Yannick Muller being chased now by Regan Mitchell, and I think that is possibly Dave Hedges just behind, but what a start. And look, still side by side. Oh, clash between the Bentleys. McGregor turned into the barriers, and that has given Simon Crane an advantage, but I don't think he is going to be looked upon favourably by the race stewards at all.
Yeah, that'll be one for the stewards to watch after the race. A little bit of door banging there, side-by-side contact. Not quite sure from first impressions who moved where, but let's get back to the racing, because Crosland is using all and a little bit more of the track there to try and put a move on Crane. And impressively, even though he was getting traction on the grass, he did manage to get alongside for a second there, but he's just fallen back into line, and he's now coming under pressure himself, I believe, from Muller, who is getting alongside now, but Crosland's going to defend this into Paddock Hill. He's got the inside line. As long as he can get it turned and keep the power on, and he's drifting, he's sideways, he's lost traction, and I think he's going to potentially lose 1 if not 2 positions now because of that.
Well, Regan Mitchell was trying to go look up the inside, and he's going up the inside of Yannick Muller, going through Druids. Dave Hedges is there. Aaron Martin Pilkington is there. And this, in the meantime, has allowed Simon Crane, who nearly went very, very wide coming out of Clark Curve. As we go to the back of the field, Chris Bowman in 30th position, battling away with, well, Mark Neutlings looks to have made, and we've had a massive issue for Denise Pope. She said she's had a disconnect before the race start. She's really, really disappointed. So that's a real shame for Denise. That puts us down to 37 competitors, as you can see. Look, someone's brought, there's a wild jag in the background, and that is one of our regulars here. So the drivers now really having to push like crazy, and at the moment Simon Crane has got a lead of 1.6 seconds. Yeah,
and I think Crosland is pushing. If he can just pull away a little bit from third place, just so he's not having to defend too much, I think he's probably one of the few men on the track at the moment that's looking like he can maybe catch Simon. But as you say, it's all very tight. Look at this Mitchell on the back of Muller now, really pushing. He's really sending that McLaren on and trying to get past the Ferrari. Muller in front. He's in the slipstream. He's dodging and diving. He's showing his headlights, but he's just not quite got enough speed. The Ferrari seems to be able to stretch its legs down the straight there. Looking at Dave Hedges just going through Paddock Hill now, behind his teammate Steve Haley. Not a bad start, I think, from either of those guys. Steve Haley was round about 8th or 9th, I believe, in qualifying, so he's made a few positions up. But Simon Crane, it has to be said, out the front, he's set the fastest lap by about a second on the guys behind him at the moment.
Yeah, well, I did notice that Aaron Martin Pilkington and Steve Haley managed to get past Dave Hedges, who actually ran wide coming out of Clark Curve, as we now are on board with the 101 Nissan Nismo GTR GT3 of Carolus Supervicious. He is behind Stijn Paspon, one of our resident Dutchmen here, in the 444 Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. They've got Tovila Vicious just up ahead, as well as Roberto Santoro and Gerard de Bar. Look at the amount of pace that Supervicious had in that Nissan, and that was going through, I think, Westfields. Oh, they're going down into that was coming through Hawthorns, going to Westfields. They're now going through into Dingledale, hard on the brakes, and then before they'll do that again, drop down another gear into second gear at about 120 kilometers an hour through the left-hander at Stirling. So that Nissan starting to build a little bit of pace, and it's been absolutely frantic within the first 4 and a bit minutes here of the first round of the season.
Yeah, absolutely, and we know how tenacious Supervicious can be as well from the GT4 race, and he never gives up, and we've seen him previously in the GT4s have some fantastic
fight backs through the grid, you know, to get podium places. Good to see Ross McGregor's managed to rejoin in 10th place at the moment. Hopefully not too much damage, because let's not forget there's no pit stops unless he wants to take one to repair damage, which would put him at a massive time disadvantage. So hopefully he can consolidate from where he is, look at the big picture, remember it's a championship, it's not just a one-off race, and just score some valuable points. But yeah, it's looking like Crane's last lap was a 1:23.5, Crossland was a 1:23.9, so Crane's still doing enough to pull away from the guys behind him, which is impressive at this very early stage in the race where they will be heavy with fuel.
Yeah, very true. I mean, the Bentley, it might be the biggest, might be the biggest car in this grid in terms of weight, but when you have got a full tank in that car, it really does help the centre of gravity. As now we go on board with Zugas Tovilavicius, and that was that might have been Ranjiv Kalsi, or was that possibly somebody else that went wide just a moment ago? That could have been. I think that is Ranjiv Kalsi.
I think it's Kalsi, yes.
That was Santoro. That was Santoro,
okay.
Was it? Oh, okay. Well, Santoro's behind Tovilavicius at the moment, but it was a white liveried car, so that very much is the case. No, that was Ranjiv Kalsi. That was Kalsi that went wide. So Tovilavicius goes up keeps it up the inside of Santoro, going through Paddock Hill Bend, taking a little bit of grass and a little bit of dust on the inside, going through on the Blind Crest Apex, through into Druids. So at the moment, you might want to keep an eye on Charlie Crossland at the moment, Steve,
yep.
And not just him, Yannick Muller. Crossland's gone fastest in, he's gone purple in Sector 1. Yannick Muller has set the fastest lap of anybody, 1:23.439. The gap between the top three at the moment, just under 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, and it's those three guys at the front that are doing the 1:23s. Everybody else is sort of 1:24s and upwards. But that's an impressive lap time from Muller and Crossland. Albeit they're only a couple of tenths faster, but he's, you know, a couple of tenths. There's 53 minutes left to go of this race. We have literally just completed 4 laps. So as Aaron Martin Pilkinson there with Haley, that's Pilkinson and Haley off. Hedges regains those 2 positions, and Pilkinson and Haley's somebody else gathered up there as well.
Yeah, 22 of Dean Riley also had spun at that particular point, and he nearly got collected in the process. So all 3 of those drivers very, very lucky indeed. But yeah, it was, I'm not too sure what happened there, but I think it was a case that Haley was trying to go up the inside of Martin Pilkington. They both came together, and then it was synchronised spinning between a McLaren and a Ferrari.
Yeah, and a man that's gained from that wasn't only Hedges, but Rich Smith up to 6th place. He qualified outside the top 10, so he's done well. Ross McGregor's now up to 7th place, so the recovery drive begins. Back up to 7th already, lapping 1:25s, but obviously he's in traffic, so he's not going to be the fastest man on the track. He's got to hustle that big Bentley through all the cars in front of him at the moment. And just to reiterate Simon Crane's authority on this race, he's just done a 1:23.5 as opposed to a 1:23.6 from Crossland, but Muller's still on the pace with a 1:23.5 also. So the pace at the front, as you said, Alex, very, very close, and I don't think, mistakes aside, I don't think anyone's going to really pull away at the moment.
Yeah, very much the case. There's Rich Smith, currently in P6 in the 223 Falcon Esports Mercedes AMG GT3s, trying to hunt down Dave Hedges. They are covered by just under half a second. Denise Pope saying that he's cheering for Evan and Pixley in that lovely Jaguar livery. I recognise that.
Here we go. This is the Haley and Pilkington issue.
Right, okay. So they're going through the corner. Pilkington runs a little bit wide. Haley jumps to the inside, seizes the opportunity. This is through Dingle Dell of all places, into Sheens. Oh, touch from the left front onto the right rear. They both go spinning. And oh, there's been a collect, and that was Dean Riley being collected by by Ross McGregor. Ross McGregor had contact with Dean Riley. So whether that was as a result of them Riley stepping on the brakes possibly, and McGregor might have been unsighted.
Yeah, I think the problem is at Dingle Dell Sheens, it's all pretty much blind, it's all full commitment, and it's not even a case of breaking through there. Just the slightest lift can cause the car to unsettle and lose traction. So yeah, very, very difficult. But here we are with, I think this is McGregor we're watching now. Yeah,
going through into Hawthorns. He gets a good run coming out of it. Nearly loses the back end on the exit. Going through, it was Westfields, going through Dingle Dell. Now into Sheens. Oh, Riley actually lost the back end himself, so there wasn't a collect, but then there was a car behind. So
Yeah.
McGregor actually he saw that cut. He saw that as it started to unfold and went, right, I'm going to the left. I need to stay out of trouble here. And he did exactly the right thing. He put the car exactly where he needed to when he saw how Dean Riley's car was rotating.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was it was lucky that more cars weren't collected, as we just seen a little bit of an incident there. Not quite sure who that was, but this is Pilkington now looking to go around the outside, which is a brave move and puts a lot of trust on the other guy. But they've done that successfully, and that's Pilkington up a place.
That was Reese Wiggin actually being turned around in the 667 that I just saw there. So he's not going to be happy about that one at all. But I'm not too sure who collected him. Ivaris Mikos in the 36 Aston Martin Vantage V8 GT3 is closing on Steve Haley. They're not too far apart. They're actually going down the Cooper's Straight with Roberto Santoro. And good effort so far from Stein Pasmont, keeping the nose of his Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo rather clean, as we are now into Martin Pilkington, yellow flags out. He's on the outskirts of Graham Hill Bend, waiting to have a safe rejoin, and he was running down he was running in the top 6, obviously, before the contact between himself and Stephen Haley, which put him down to 16th. Now he finds himself pretty much at the tail end, Charlie, of this field. That's a real shame.
Yeah, absolutely. Pilkington having a fantastic run so far. A little bit of contact with Haley, but nothing he couldn't potentially recover. But another incident is pretty much going to put a massive dent in his points hope this evening. But let's not forget, it's the first round. There's still plenty of time, as we're looking at one of the Hondas on track at the moment, putting the Tafas under a lot of pressure at this moment in time. And it'll be interesting to see how quick that Honda is down the start-finish straight in a moment and into Paddock Hill to see if we can get a move done.
Yeah, that's Mike Markenstein from the number 7. That's the number 17 Honda from Hutz Motorsport. He's pairing with Jesper Peels in the 229. And Jesper is currently in 29th position, as that looks to be Reese Wiggin that has just come out of the pits. And yeah, Evan Dafas running a little bit wide coming out of Paddock Hill Bend. Mike Markenstein coming out through the exit of Paddock Hill, up the Hellwood Hill. Made that it was quite straightforward there. There's Gerard DeBar in the baby boy blue Nissan, the Simsport Sport driver, currently running P19. He's got Tovi Lavicius not too far behind in the 92 Porsche. And there is Ranjiv Kalsi in the old Alitalia livery. Remember that on the old Lancia Stratos back in the old rally days?
Yeah, rallying is my first love from many years ago, and I can actually remember seeing that car in anger in the RAC rally back in the day, but that's far too much information. But Kalsi, putting that car to good use. He's on a bit of a recovery drive. He went wide, as we saw earlier. He's back on track. He's, Ranjiv will keep going. He'll give it his best, and I expect to see him making up 2 or 3 places at least from where he is. Absolutely action-packed at the moment. We can see the fields spreading out a little bit. You can see the red numbers on the timing tower indicating the AM drivers, and as you would expect, they're all pretty much bunched up, but looking good, as Kalsi actually drifting around Paddock Hill Bend just like a Stratos would. Absolutely fantastic control there from Rand. Didn't lose it, kept it, and he hasn't lost a place. Lost a little bit of time, but kept it pointed in the right direction, gathered it all up and carried on.
There's Geno Brandl in the 737 Scorbine Racing Porsche, currently running in 16th position, and has the 142 from Mikolas Jurgaitis trying to close down, but then we're going to call him Rallying Ranjiv. Ranj, I think. There's another hashtag. Because I think he must have heard you say the word Stratos and then, right, I'm going sideways, I'm going rallying, guys. That's
just for everybody watching, Ranjiv is a fantastic member of the community, but he's also modest. If you start to give him too much praise, or you talk about his actions or his exploits on track, he's the first man to talk you down. Fantastic character, but showing he's got some great racing skills and some fantastic drifting skills. Good lad, Ranj.
Yeah, a bit of showboating for the crowd at home. as there is Stephen Haley closing on Chris Pinchbeck. Now, Pinchbeck has managed to get himself up into 8th position with all the trials and tribulations that everyone has had just up ahead as we're getting towards the completion of the first quarter of this 60-minute race.
This will be interesting, Alex, because as we know from previous GT3 encounters, Chris Pinchbeck is not the easiest man to overtake. He knows how to defend, and he's a solid driver. Having said that, I put the curse on it, and Haley's got past him.
First one of the season, and it doesn't go to me this time. Thank goodness for that. Ranjiv Kalsi up the inside of Zigas Tovilavicius to now take 19th place from him. But you know what you said about Pinchbeck? He's not going to let that go. He's like a dog with a toy, and you try and wrestle it away from the first thing what they'll do, they'll start growling. Effectively, Steve Haley now is being hunted. It's one thing being the hunter, but when you're being the hunted, it's a completely different proposition altogether, as everyone's flying their way through Hawthorne Bend, and there's so many of them kicking up the dust here at Brands Hatch. So at the moment, with around a 2.2 second lead, Simon Crane continues to lead ahead of Charlie Crossland. Yannick Muller has a bit of a run wide there from Ranjiv Kalsi. So Tovilavicius in the 92 gets back past for position.
Matt Neutlin's in the chat, Alex. He's out thanks to rejoining Porsche was total, so we didn't catch that on the stream, but I'm sure there'll be a steward's inquiry if it was a poor rejoin, so we'll be having a look at that one after the race. But sad to see he's out, as we're looking at Muller and Crossland now, and you can see Simon Crane just up ahead. The gap initially with Crane and Crossland was around 2.6, but over the laps it's come down to around 2.1, 2.2. But one gap that hasn't changed is Muller and Crossland. Muller is really putting the pressure on Crossland now. Crossland will not be able to take his eyes off his mirrors too much, because Muller's not letting him rest. And I can't emphasise how difficult it is to drive as close behind somebody around Brands Hatch as Muller is doing to Crossland right now.
Because it's not just about the elevation changes, it's also about the undulations, the bumpiness on this circuit. I remember being at this particular track for the first year of Class 1 in DTM, where Mike Rockenfeller, 2013 champion, went up the inside of 2 other cars going through Hawthorns after Pilgrim's Drop, and that is not what you would see in a DTM race at all. It was completely 2-litre turbocharged 600 brake horsepower cars going 3 abreast, and he planted it up the inside. So that's how difficult it can be to lead. But if you get a double toe, especially coming out of Surtees going to Pilgrim's Drop, as it looks like there might be a couple, there are some back markers starting to appear. I did see that Ranjiv Kalsi did actually pit after that lawnmower Valtteri Bottas moment he had just about 90 seconds or so ago. He went into the pit, so I think he's incurred a bit of damage. But now this is going to give Yannick Muller a possible opportunity to try and get past, and I think that might be Ranjiv Kalsi just up ahead.
I think it is, yeah. I think you're right, Alex. I think that is Ranjiv Kalsi, and I was going to say Ranjiv Kalsi's, albeit he's a bit slower than these guys, he's not a lot slower, because as remember, qualifying was pretty close, and Ranjiv was round about it was in the top 20, I believe, so he isn't that far off, but he'll do the right thing and he'll move away and let Crossland by. Now it's whether Muller can get through at the same time. We're just going to go to a replay now.
Okay, so the car on our screens is Mark Neutelings. Mark Neutelings completely unsighted. That was going through Westfields into Dingledell. That's the reason why his BMW with the Warstein livery was completely totaled. That was a hard hit and a half.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally understand how he's had to retire from that one, because as we said, it's a lights to flag race, so pit stops really hurt you, and possibly not even able to drive back to the pits from that one. But obviously the Ranjiv Kalsi there, it's just been lapped by Crossland and Muller, but Muller's just dropped off the back of Crossland a little bit, giving him some breathing space, and we know what Charlie Crossland can do with some breathing space. He's got that gap down to Simon Crane now to 1.8, so he's charging, he's closing the gap down a little bit. Crane's last lap was a 1:24.1, Crossland's was a 1:23.9.
Well, the pace is definitely increasing from the Team Fordzilla driver in the 66. Yeah, that's nearly 0.3 of a second as Stijn Pasborn coming up against the number 101 Nissan of Galoris Sipavicius, with Roberto Santoro just ahead in 10th place. Though 13, we're currently on lap number 14. So the gap is around about 1.8 seconds between Crane and Crossland. Muller, Mitchell, McGregor now up into 5th place, and that Bentley being is definitely forever forward in that car at the moment. Is Stain Pasmont nearly could have had a bit of a tank slapper there. He's got Lucas Centales behind, so he is. This is the first time in the season I'm going to say this is actually the Lamborghini meet and a Nissan sandwich.
I'm gutted. Rich Smith in chat. I'm not as gutted as he is, but lost connection when in 5th is absolutely gutted. Losing connection, I can't tell you, is absolutely devastating, because I don't think there's an awful lot you can do about it to prepare for it. It's just one of them things that happens with the wonders of modern technology. So Rich, really devastated to see that you're out. Have to really sort of climbing through the field a little bit from your qualifying position and putting in a solid performance. So sorry to hear that, buddy.
I feel so sorry for Rich. My commiserations, buddy. One of our very own GT4 race winners as well. He's developed so much over the past couple of seasons in GT3 and GT4 since I started commentating here at Simsport, as we are on board on the front splitter cam of Galoris Sipavicius into this is Hawthorne's Bend. He was very close to pitching it round towards the outside. They're now going to go through into Westfield before the dip down into Dingle Dell. Great on board. A big thank you to our broadcast director, Mike Yow from Simply Race, as always. Through into... Sipavicius lost a little bit of time going through Sheen Curve. They're now into the left at Sterling's. That Ferrari of Santoro could try and pull away. Looks to be doing so at the moment. So...
I did like that camera angle. That was very impressive. I loved the follow shots like that when they're following so close. It just shows the skill and commitment that's required. And talking of skill and commitment, Charlie Crossland has now got the gap down to 1.7. So he is charging. He is consistently lapping faster than Crane. But TFZ Frubo in the chat has said that potentially, just to cut it short, the Mercedes does hammer the tyres, in his opinion, around Brands Hatch. So it might be that we see Crossland start to struggle as this race wears on.
Rich Smith has just put another message in chat saying the end of the race is where the 2020 Evo version of the AMG GT3 was strongest. That sounds really ominous.
Yeah, it could be down.
I'm so disappointed for him.
Yeah, sorry, Alex. It could come down to driving styles as well, though, because obviously we're all a little bit different. Some are smoother than others, but we all know that. To be fair, Charlie Crossland, he won't mind me saying, I don't think he's the smoothest driver, because he's very, very aggressive, and he knows how to get those lap times in. But whether he can manage those tyres to the end, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Gerard de Bar's keeping it nice and consistent at the moment as Tovila Vicious trying to go up the inside. Oh, a little bit of a tag between the two. The Nissan runs wide, but he gets back on the black stuff as Tovila Vicious in the 92 Lexus. Not that. It's Jorgaitis just behind in the 142 Lexus as Tovila Vicious loses a bit of ground coming through into Sheen Curve, now into Sterling's. The Porsche gets an absolute flyover run through Sterling's on the back of the Nissan of Gerard de Bar, now going into Clark Curve. And Denise Pope wondering, what's McGregor's pace like? Is he catching the guy ahead, or did he get too much damage earlier up to move up much further?
Interestingly, Mitchell and McGregor's last laps were both exactly the same, 1:24.204. So the gap is pretty much stagnant. It doesn't get any more stagnant than that. Although, having said that, that is just the last lap. So maybe we'll keep watching that gap for you, Denise, and we'll report back very soon. But McGregor is not a man to give up, and he's done a fantastic job to get back up to 5th place so far.
Yeah, having dropped all the way down to 10th after that first lap excursion, when he and Simon Crane bumped door handles quite spectacularly going through through Pilgrim's Drop at this particular moment. So a lot of drivers, as we are on board with Sipavicius for a brief moment before going back to Tovila Vicious in the 92. You can see the left-hand side of that Porsche is a bit worse for wear as we go back to Sipavicius, and he's closing on Roberto Santoro. So the Ferrari has not yet scarpered away into the distance like a lot of people would expect the prancing horse to do, but right on the back of the Ferrari is the Nissan Zipper Vicious trying to force the issue, looking towards the outside, going through into Paddock Hill Bend. He's trying to keep it planted round out there, but he won't. He will try and get the cut back, and he does. Oh, that's a great move. Brilliant move there by Carlos Zipper Vicious on Roberto Santoro. Up into the approach into Druids, coming out of Paddock Hill Bend. He absolutely nailed that one to the wall.
Yeah, and it looks like the guys at the front have had a bit of an issue as well. Crane's last lap was a 1:25.3, and interestingly, second place is now Muller, 3.2 seconds back. So the man that's had the issue is Charlie Crossland. His last lap was a 1:26.1. So it has changed now, but what has changed is second and third. Muller up to second.
Yeah, Charlie Crossland had a bit of a difficult first sector, it looks like. And I'm just looking through because on the Pitwall.live timing screen, you can actually see when there were incidents involving which vehicles. It will also say purple lap for the fastest driver out there as well. We are fast approaching halfway through this race. I can't believe it, Steve. We've had 25 and a half minutes elapsed already here at Brands Hatch, and we've still got 34 and a half to go.
Yeah, it's been action non-stop, lights out, all the way now, like you say, 34 and a half minutes, just under now to go, and the guys are still battling as hard. Nobody can make the break, nobody can get away from everybody. The only man that is now really in clean air is Simon Crane, our race leader, who was pretty much led from the first lap after that little bit of a rub with McGregor, which I'm sure we'll take a look at after the race and see if there's any blame to be apportioned or whether it was a racing incident. But he is the man now. It's his race to lose. He now has a gap of 3.1 seconds, but currently we're watching Miles Dixon in 14th place, who has made good progress because he qualified possibly, I would say, out of position, but he's certainly putting pressure on the guys in front. He's putting the laps in, and he's trying to make some progress through the field.
Yeah, there was yeah, so here we're going to see the moment for Charlie Crossland. Just runs wide, coming out of Clark Curve on the grass, and just loses so much momentum. And Yannick Muller goes, "Thank you very much, you've opened the door." Such a gentleman. But I've also noticed that there has been a little bit of a contretemps between Jeffrey Wolf and the number 12 of Luke Hanlon Fitzgerald, who has just lost out 2 places. Just a couple of moments ago. So both those drivers being compromised. But yeah, Charlie Crossland, I think, has he really tortured those tyres, because that has given Yannick Muller the biggest amount of opportunity that he has needed. The gap now down between Crane and Muller, now 2.379 seconds. Yannick Muller took nearly 0.8 of a second out of the Bentley on that last lap.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's a few mistakes coming into Simon Crane's driving. Are the tyres going off with him? I would hope not, because they've got half the race to go. So I would expect all of them to get at least 40 to 45 minutes into the race before we see any serious tyre drop off, if indeed we see any at all. As we've just said earlier, it depends on the driving styles and how the guys manage them. The lap times are getting a little bit slower at the front. They're not so much getting into the 23s anymore. Most of the laps are now 24s, some of them 25, so the pace is dropping ever so slightly, but it would appear that maybe Simon Crane is the one that's losing out a little bit more than the others at the moment.
Yeah, I've been watching this fantastic battle between the likes of Lucas Sentalis, Stain Passport and Pulse Simsport's Miles Dixon in the 94 Bentley. This is for 12th, 13th and 14th respectively. There's Chris Bowman running in the traditional AF Corsa livery, one of the teams that normally run in the FIA World Endurance Championships, amongst other categories of GT3 competition. And in front is the number 12 of Luke Hanlon Fitzgerald, who had that incident earlier on with the F86 of Jeffrey Wolf, one of the regulars, who normally, he's actually still in the Ferrari 488 like he was in season 3. I'm wondering what the livery is on Jeffrey's car, but he's way down the order in 35th at the moment. Good evening to one of our friends from another ACC community, SRHI, Aaron von Druen. Good evening. And he said the 2020 tyres could last for a double stint. Interesting insight there.
Yeah, they can last for the double stint, but they still drop off at different rates on different cars, so the lap times are still affected differently on each car. It's not to say that they'll be worn out after the 40-45 minutes, but they will be handling differently to obviously how they were at the start of the race. But just to mention, Ross McGregor in 5th place is actually now, just to go back to Denise, we said we'd check back on this. Ross McGregor's last lap was a 24.7. Regan Mitchell, the guy in front of him, his last lap was a 1:24.195, so you're looking at about 5/10, half a second faster than McGregor at the moment, so it doesn't look like McGregor's making any ground up on that 4th place. Steve Haley has moved up to 6th place ahead of his teammate Hedges, and Pinchbeck's still holding that 8th place. So Pinchbeck's just doing what we said he does well, just bringing the car home, being consistent, and sort of pretty much staying out of trouble, Alex.
Yeah, so we're past the halfway point here at the opening round of Season 5 GT3 on Simsport Racing. If you want to get involved with the community, head to simsport-racing.com. You can also find us on Facebook by our own group. We've also got Twitter and Instagram, along with our available websites, available 24/7, 365. So yeah, looking rather interesting. So at the moment, in terms of the leaders we'll go through for the top 3 of both classes, both Pro and Am. And at the moment, Simon Crane is leading the way ahead of Yannick Müller and the number 66 of Team Fordzilla's Charlie Crossland. And it looks like that our highest placed Am driver is currently in 18th position. There's Mikolas Georgaitis in the 142. And Martin Dergala and then Sebastian de Tolanera. They round out the top 20 positions. As you can see, as Steve alluded to earlier, the whites are Pro and the reds are Am. So some very, very good battling. There's now Simon Crane. Might come under a little bit of salvo fire from Yannick Müller because they're coming up against backmarker traffic here, Steve.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning again, Crane's gap, when Crossland had the issue, he got a gap of 3.2 seconds. That's come down to 2 seconds over the matter of probably half a dozen laps. And with 28 minutes to go, nothing at this moment in time is certain. So Crane's going to have to battle hard to pass the back markers, not mess about, and really sort of try and get through those. We've just seen 2 cars off at Druids, and one of those was the same livery as Kelsey. I'm not sure if it was Kelsey or his teammate, but definitely one of the Ferrari Italias off into the sand trap.
Well, Santoro is actually running in a different livery. He's running in the Rinaldi Racing colours, which is that car just in front of Lucas Centales, who's coming under fire from Miles Dixon. That's brave, if you want to call it, going through into Hawthorns. So Centales is getting the old switcheroo, the old Nigel Mansell dummy done on him by Miles Dixon. He's trying to close on Santoro. So you've got Santoro, Centales and Dixon battling away for 10th position. The driver that's got the ringside seat, Stijn Pasmont.
Yeah, I mean, any move through Hawthorns, Westfield, Ingledale, Sheens, it's a brave move because those are very, very fast, blind corners. Turning, you can't see the exit point. You're turning in on memory on where you should be, and to be trying to go side by side through there or trying to put a move on somebody is very, very brave, and it's high risk unless you are so much faster than the car in front, which obviously these guys aren't. They are literally just battling thousandths of a second off each other. They are literally battling for position, battling hard. We see Miles Dixon weaving left and right as they go into Druids, but there's nothing he can do to get past Centales. Centales just holds his line, holds his position, and keeps the position. Miles Dixon regroups, still staying close. Both of them just behind Santoro in 10th, so it's all to play for. And is that Passpont as well that's catching these guys and just running around at the back of them? So it's a 4-way battle now as they're heading down towards Pilgrim's Drop and then into the very fast right-hander of Hawthorns. But I think it's going to be well-behaved and single file this time through.
Oh, and look, Denise Pope saying about that Jaguar livery. You'll know how I know, because I think... Yes, that's the old silk cut livery from back in the day on the old XJR 15s. My goodness, that's a bit of nostalgia there. So that's a new addition for us here at Simsport Racing. Some good old traditional liveries there.
Yeah, that will make some good screenshots, I'm sure. May have to get the replay file and do some artwork on that one because, yeah, as you say, very, very nice looking livery and a bit of nostalgia there for the older generation, Alex.
Well, not just the older generation, but those that love their retro. You know, you're making us sound both very, very old now, mate, because we are both petrol heads through and through. But I think everyone in the modern age of motorsport does love those retro nostalgia moments, as Lucas Zentalis starting to close up once again on Roberto Santoro. So it's Ferrari versus Nissan with a Bentley and a Lamborghini behind. So 4 different brands trying to get to the last position in the top 10. And Denise has just said, I may have made that livery for Richard and for Dan.
Fantastic
I think
work.
You might have done. Nice work,
Yeah,
Denise.
fantastic.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Bravo, as they say. Again, this is one of your favourite onboard shots, the front splitter cam on this Nissan, Steve. And Zentalis is not letting Santoro breathe one iota.
No, it's fantastic, this camera angle, because when you get into the braking zones, it just really shows the closing speed and you know the undulation of the track as well. It's absolutely awesome to watch, and I could watch the whole race from here, to be fair, but obviously I wouldn't be able to commentate on an awful lot, so we better get back to the action. But yeah, doing a fantastic job, and this is a 4-way battle. Let's not forget, there's 4 guys sharing a piece of tarmac here, and literally we could go from more or less 13th up to 10th very, very easily.
Yeah, so 24 minutes and 5 seconds remaining here on Simsport Racing for the first of 6 rounds for Season 5 GT3, with Season 4 GT4 starting on this coming Wednesday at Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari at Imola on the 13th of January, with quite a big grid, over 30 cars set to get into battle for the first time in Season 4. So great. This is actually, we've got double bubble here. Yeah, we've got double bubble here. We've got the front splitter cam and the roof cam on Zentalis' Nissan GTR Nismo GT3. So
yeah, my eyes are firmly on Dixon at the moment, because he's the man that's trying to make all the moves. He was really, really close there as they came through Surtees. And again, he's gonna... Oh, you can't do that, Miles. Yes, you can. He's doing it. He's done it. If he holds that and the back marker for good measure. Fantastic driving there from Miles Dixon. That was confident. Great respect from both drivers. But Miles Dixon got the job done at what I would say is one of the hardest parts of the track to pass. Fantastic driving.
Yeah, but Zentalis is still under pressure. Look, Stein Passport is now waiting for his bite of the cherry, and they're going through Clark Curve. Now, we know that the Lamborghini, that naturally aspirated 5.2 litre V10, is going to be absolutely screaming down the straightaway. But he lifts off, turns the car in, rotates it, gets a nice tight apex, as does Zentalis in the Nissan. So again, it's Godzilla versus one of the Italian Bull. Roundabout for 12th position, as now Dixon has got a gap over these two by at least 1.1 seconds, as in the bottom right hand corner Ross McGregor now coming under pressure from Stephen Haley in the 24 Simsport Racing Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo.
We have a very observant producer, because I was just looking at that time and was going to mention this gap has come right down. Haley has put is putting McGregor under a lot of pressure now. All I can think is maybe McGregor has got some damage, not taking anything away from Haley's driving, but McGregor, we saw, had that big hit and he had so much pace to put that car on pole position. So yeah, he's under pressure now, and he's going to be fighting to keep that 5th place, and he's got 21.5 minutes to fight. So this could be an interesting battle, because we know how hard Haley will push.
Do you want a recreation of this battle as well? Let's go to Simon Crane and Yannick Muller. The gap between them is now down to under half a second, and that is for the overall lead. Muller took over half a second in the last lap. We have got a yellow flag out briefly, which was, very shortly. But look, there is the gap in the bottom right-hand corner of your screens, as we are on board with Stephen Haley chasing down the Simply Race Zancho car of Ross McGregor and the number 15 Bentley. So it is Bentley versus Ferrari for the lead, and also Bentley versus Ferrari for 5th place. We still just have just over 20 minutes still remaining. I'm on tenterhooks, Steve. It's absolutely incredible how quick this race has gone.
Yeah, McGregor was just showing Haley there that he's not going to make it easy for them as they came through Pilgrim's Drop into Hawthorns. He just parked it in the middle of the track, and there was nowhere for Haley to go. We can see the Ferrari, it appears to be quicker than McGregor, although now they're onto the start-finish straight. That Bentley is stretching its legs a little bit, but I expect Haley to start closing up again as they drop through Paddock and into Druids. I think Haley, as you can see there on the brakes, closing that gap down and trying to keep the pressure applied. It's going to be very, very frustrating for Haley if he can only really apply that pressure through this twisty stuff, because if he hasn't got the legs down the back straight into Pilgrim's Drop there, he's not going to get the move done. If he hasn't got the legs on the start-finish straight, he's not going to get the move done, and he's going to get very, very frustrated. All he can do at the moment, I think, is just keep the pressure on McGregor, keep piling the pressure on. But McGregor's not a driver that will crack under pressure. It has to be said, we've seen him put in some solid race performances at Simsport Racing.
So we are into the final third of this 60-minute race. Battles still to be decided, wars still to be won. With 19 and a half minutes to go, Stephen Haley now really winding up the wick on that Ferrari, and they've got a back marker that is a Mercedes that will try and hopefully quickly get out of the way very shortly. Looks to be one of the AM class competitors, maybe. I think that might be Reese Wiggin. That had that unfortunate misadventure earlier on through no fault of his own. That is the case, as now they all go under the bridge, and that was one of the Porsches just behind, and you can just see how much avoidance Reese Wiggin is having to do. He saw Ross McGregor and thought, oh, hang on a minute, what's Steve Haley doing there?
No, great awareness from Wiggin there, just to move out of the way, not one car but both cars, and you could see the final input into his steering. He wasn't fully aware there was two closing on him like that, so well done to Reese. But just quickly back to Denise regarding the livery. Anybody out there that's created liveries for cars that have taken part in the are taking part in the Simsport Racing Championships, past or present, we have got channels on our Discord channel for screenshots. If you want to stick them in there, I will upload them to our Instagram page as well, and we'll get some content out there. We'll share some fantastic screenshots of some of these awesome liveries. So if anybody wants to do that, just look us up onto our Discord channel and join in on the fun and post your screenshots.
Yes, well put there, Steve. So it's going to be a case of finding out in the next 18 minutes what's going to happen, because Simon Crane's still feeling the heat under the collar, and as they say, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. It's just over 4 tenths between the number 53 Pulse Simsport Bentley and then the number 143 Ferrari, so yes, Yannick Muller is Kieran Vidago's teammate. Kieran, get well, buddy. We hope that you get well soon, my friend, and hopefully we'll have you back racing with us in no time at all. He would have been in the sister car, the number 4 Apex Predator Racing, and that is exactly what Yannick Muller is at the moment. He is an Apex Predator, and he is closing on Simon Crane as they now brake coming out of the Cooper Straight into Surtees, taken at around second gear at about 115 kilometers an hour. Now they build the speed. They'll be hitting around close to 240 kilometers an hour in fifth gear before hitting the brake pedal just before the last marker board into Hawthorns, taken at fourth gear at 175 kilometers an hour. Down the Minster Straight through into Westfields at third gear at 145. Dingledell, they accelerate up to around 210 k's in fourth before going down into third. And look at the amount of curve that just unsettled Yannick Muller. That really stopped his run quicker than you could say the word jump.
But he's gathered it back up, thankfully. He's lost a little bit of time, but let's not forget he's made up a lot of time to be where he is on Crane. Crane has had so much of this race to himself that he's now under pressure, albeit he's got a little bit of a gap back now to Muller, but he's under pressure, no doubt about it. All Muller has to do now is just keep where he is, keep applying the pressure. They're coming up to the back markers. We don't want the back markers to play into it. We don't want them to cause an incident, and a back marker has caused an issue for Muller, and it's put Muller off the track. That is the end of his attack, unfortunately. That is devastating. That is awful to see.
But it's just brought back Charlie Crossland in the battle for second position. Crossland was waiting, so Crossland wasn't that far behind. That has thrown an absolute spanner in the works, and up the inside goes Charlie Crossland to retake second position. Yannick Muller will now have damage on that Ferrari. Look in the background, Steve. Regan Mitchell in the number 69 McLaren 720S is now starting to look ahead, and he's just seen that sign of motivation that Yannick Muller is no longer in second position.
Look at Haley weaving. He can't find a way past that Bentley. He's glued to the back bumper of the Bentley. But Ross McGregor is just driving the line he needs to drive. He's driving slightly defensive, albeit not too defensive. He's still managing to put in reasonable lap times, keep the pace up, and just nowhere for Haley to go. We can see around this section of the circuit that Ferrari's planted. It's so much faster than the Bentley. But where it counts down the straight, the Bentley seems to be able to stretch its legs. As we can see now, it's just starting to pull away from the Ferrari a bit, not giving Haley much of an opportunity to get into the braking zones and get down the inside. But Haley doing a fantastic job, McGregor doing an equal job. Fantastic racing from both guys. We can see in your bottom right there, Haley trying to go down to the inside for Paddock Hill, not quite close enough, has to dive out of it. That Bentley has just got that little bit too much straight line speed. As we're just looking at Muller now, he has lost out to Regan Mitchell by the looks of that on track as well. That looks like Regan Mitchell's got past him.
He got past him going through the inside of Paddock Hill Bend. Muller knew that car was a wounded animal and decided, you know what, I'm gonna lick my wounds and I'm gonna come back next time out at Kyalami and come back fighting. He's doing a bit of damage limitation because he's got 6.3 seconds between him and Ross McGregor, who again has got Stephen Haley now going towards the outside and powering past the Bentley rather easily. After the exit of Sterling's going through into Pilgrim's Drop. So now Ross McGregor, he will now concentrate more effectively on bringing that car home. He was hoping to bring that back in 5th position, but Stephen Haley from the Simsport Racing duo has definitely tried. He's definitely got his. He's looking at the bigger picture, and the good thing is that Ross McGregor is the Bentley meat between a Ferrari sandwich, and not just any Ferrari sandwich. It's the Simsport Racing duo of Stephen Haley and Dave Hedges. Dave Hedges currently running in 7th position.
Yeah, good performance from Dave this evening. Albeit Dave's one of those drivers that's he very rarely says he's happy with his drive. He could have always done a little bit better, but we know that Dave is a good driver. He managed to muscle a Maserati for a season in the GT4s, and you've got to be some sort of a driver to be able to put a season together in that car. So yeah, Dave's doing well in 7th place. McGregor, like you say, he'll be consolidating that 6th place. They'll be looking at the big picture, thinking championship, and that's exactly what Muller will be thinking in 4th place. Going to be interesting to see if he can keep Haley behind. We have just over 12.5 minutes left. The gap between Muller and Haley is shrinking. Haley is catching Muller, and Haley could be on for a 4th place here. I don't think it's beyond his capabilities to get that 4th with the damage that Muller appears to be carrying.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, at the moment that gap is around about 5 or so. That's probably about 5 or so seconds. Now, here's the replay. There was a tag up ahead, and Muller the Lexus goes literally straight forward, and I'm wondering who that was. That was probably the 142 Lexus I think I just spotted, and that would be Michaelis Georgaitis.
Yeah. It's one of that's one of those incidents. It's very unfortunate that the car spun in front of the leaders, and the Lexus moved forward ever so slightly. But I think even if he hadn't moved forward, it looked like all the way Muller was going to hit him anyway, because it's pretty much, he was just there on the apex, and there wasn't much either driver could do about that. So really, really unfortunate. Sure, the stewards will look at it afterwards, but difficult one, that one, and I'm glad I won't be judging that one on my own.
I'm so glad to hear that, Steve, because you'll be like thinking, right, how are we going to look at it this way? And, the stewarding panel, they do a fantastic job. It is an open public steward panel as well, so all the competitors can go into it and discuss everything quite amicably. Just seen on the chat that Dean Riley said, tap the brakes mid-corner to avoid the cars crashing in front, and that was obviously with Riley. That was with Stephen Haley and Aaron Martin. That was Aaron Martin Pilkington that came together, and they spun. And so Dean Riley was actually, you were spot on. Look, Muller gets banzaied up the inside. Avanti Stephen Haley in his Ferrari. Now he gets 4th position.
Yeah, and it looks like McGregor could potentially get that position away from Muller as well, because he's not that far back, as you can see there from the camera shot. So it would appear that Muller is really, really struggling with whatever damage he's got on that car now. And it's always bad to see, but when someone was battling so close for the lead and he'd done so much hard work to catch the leader as well, and what appears to be like a racing incident with a back marker, it's really sad, and I really feel for Muller right now. But he's got to put that behind him. He's got to try and get this car around the Ferrari around here as fast as he can, as consistently as he can for the last 10 minutes of this race, to bring home some strong points for what is a 6-round championship. He's got to think of the big picture, and it looks like McGregor's going to take him this time out down the straight into Pilgrim's Drop, and I think that's job done.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. The Bentley had the legs on the Ferrari there. I think Yannick Muller now knows that, think of it this way. Yannick Muller has got a gap of, I'm just waiting for the interval at the moment between him and Dave Hedges. Dave Hedges is, just over 6 seconds behind. Also, thank you very much, Denise Pope, keeping an eye on her Wild Things Racing teammate in the 74. Evan Duffas, he's currently 5th in AM and 23 on the road, so a great drive from him. Martin Dergala, in the meantime, in the 458 Ferrari, leads the AM classification. There is Evan Duffas in the Wild Things Racing number 74 McLaren.
Yeah, what's really exciting as well is Pixley in that Jaguar, currently, I believe, in 2nd place in the AM race. So, albeit in 20th place overall, but that is 2nd in the AM class at the moment.
Yeah, Mark Neustlings just chimes in again and goes, had a good fight with Evan in the beginning. Well, that's really, really good to hear, because both Evan and Denise have been a welcome part of our community in both GT4 for a couple of seasons, and now making the move to GT3. It's really good to see that we here at Simsport Racing can help those people that have, you might have gotten the odd, you might have got a gaming PC for Christmas maybe, and you want to learn some skills on something like Assetto Corsa Competizione. Well, we here at Simsport Racing, the place to race, we can actually help you with that. So if you want to get involved, head to simsport-racing.com for further information, and you can find out about all the events that are taking place. You can also, if you're watching on YouTube, on our official Simsport Racing YouTube channel, you can hit the subscribe button. Why not hit the notification bell to get informed of every single event that's coming up, including our Season 4 GT4 season opener at Imola next Wednesday. And if you're liking this video, why not hit a thumbs up?
That was a mouthful, Alex. Well done. No, it's a great community to be part of, and everyone is really welcome. We all have a bit of banter, and everybody helps everybody, and it results to some great racing, and more importantly, to some great friendships. A lot of the guys have raced together for quite a long time. Some of the guys are new to the club, but I'm sure they'll still stay with us, and the friendships will grow. But friendships at the moment, I think they're all left on the pit wall, because there's some hard battling out there. There's been some fantastic racing. I'm noticing, and I'm sorry to say I didn't notice it sooner, but Pinchbeck looks to have retired as well. He's dropped off the leaderboard, and it's saying he's around 12 laps down, so he's retired for whatever reason. I missed that one. Really sad to see that, because Chris normally puts in solid performances, and I'd be interested to know what's happened to Chris, if he's watching, if he wants to pop it in the chat.
Yeah, CHS Racing, as always, giving their support wherever I see them, saying, Mon the Bentley. They're cheering on Ross McGregor, who's now back up into 5th position on the road. He's 3.9 seconds behind Steve Haley, who is starting to pull away. And Charlie Crossland has now got a 3.5 second deficit to our leader at the moment, Simon Crane, and we're on board on the Pole Simsport number 94 of Miles Dixon, who's got Lucas Zentalis trying to chase him down in the dying stages. They're about 6.5 tenths of a second with 6 minutes to go here at Brands Hatch. So at the moment, I'll quickly run through as best I can I'll go through the top 10 and the best as I can with regards to the top 4 through into pros. Dave Hedges, no, as I say that, Yannick Muller loses out to Dave Hedges. So Dixon rounds out the top 10, and he's being closed up by, so it's Crane, Crossland, Mitchell, Haley, McGregor, Hedges, Muller, Zipavicius, Santoro. Dixon getting defensive on Zentalis for the last position in the top 10, with Mikos Passport, Brandl and Martin Pilkington rounding out the top 15 as Zentalis looking up the inside rather sneakily, puts his nose in there, but Miles Dixon looks to try to get the inside line back into Graham Hill Bend. The Bentley will go for it. They do tangle, and Zentalis runs a little bit wide as a result of that ensuing contact up towards Surtees after negotiating their way through the Cooper Straight. Dixon sends it from absolutely nowhere, runs Zentalis a little bit wide, gives him enough racing room, but the Bentley is well and truly through.
Yeah, flashing his lights furiously there at Dixon, but to be fair, I think that was just some good hard racing from both guys. I don't think either of them went on easy on each other, but it was all fair in love and war. But the Nissan headlights are flashing furiously at the Bentley in front of him, but Miles Dixon's soaking up the pressure at the moment and just letting Zentalis know that he's not going to be an easy overtake, and that 10th place Zentalis is going to have to work very, very hard for it. It's been some awesome racing this evening. Crossland is around about 2.5 seconds back from Crane at the moment. Mitchell 3.5 seconds off Crossland, Haley 3.5 seconds off Mitchell, and McGregor 5.5 seconds off Haley. So I don't think anything really barring mistakes is going to change at the top end of the field. As we just seen there, that's Pilkington on the track, but somebody in the Porsche just went full whiplash across the track and into the wall.
That was Gernot Brandt just in front of Aaron Martin Pilkington, who's just received a generous gift thrown in his general direction. At the moment, AM is led by Martin Dergala in the 458. Pixley, the number 7 Jaguar, is running second in AM and completes the top 20. And then Jorgaitis and Reese Wiggin round out the top 4 as we go back on board with Miles Dixon, still keeping Lucas Zentalis at bay. And Ranjith Kelsey has just come on and he said, "I'm sorry guys, I wrecked Pinchy's race. I feel so rotten, so I retired."
No, well, credit to you, Ranj, for coming on and letting us know what happened, but don't take it to heart, buddy. Yeah, it's difficult. It all happens on the track, buddy, and that's where it stays. So park the car up, practice, next round in 2 weeks.
Yeah, get yourself ready for Kyalami, Ranj. That's all I can say, buddy.
Kyalami is a fantastic track, and it's about, you need to redeem yourself there, Ranj. Expect to see you in the top 10, buddy.
Yes, indeed. As we go back to Stain Passport in the 444 Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo, trying to close in on Mikos in the number 36 Aston Martin, the highest place Aston Martin. The Lamborghini's got a really good run. As on the top left, we go back on board with Lucas Zentalis in the Nissan, the 102, the sister car to... Oh, that's very, very close indeed. Right up the back bumper of the Pulse Simsport Bentley of Miles Dixon there going through Druids. My goodness me. That was very, very close indeed.
That was mega close. That, yeah, you could tell from my reaction there. That was, I thought that was contact inevitable, but yeah, he did well. And you may say Zentalis judged that perfectly. I'm not quite sure he did, but he's got a hell of a run on the Bentley now, and he's getting alongside. Not sure whether he's. I think he's maybe scared Dixon into submission there, because it almost looked like Dixon lifted on the straight. Not quite sure what happened there, but it's given Zentalis 10th place. And in the chat, good evening to Dave Jones as well.
Yeah, Stain Passport just got past the 36 Aston Martin after a little bit of headlight flashing there, Stain Passport. So Mikos now drops down into 13th. Charlie Crossland in the dying stages has got to within 1.4 seconds off of Simon Crane. Good evening to our good friend Cameron Fife, who I understand is going to be back for season 4 GT4, if memory serves me correctly, Steve?
I believe he is, and we're looking forward to seeing him on the track. Another one of our young drivers that's always improving, puts lots of practice in, and I'm sure he won't mind me telling you he's managed to get himself a new track racer rig, so he's seated properly, shall we say, and he's ready to race.
Ah, brilliant. No DIY solutions anymore. Great to hear that. Right,
yeah, he's sold the deck chair, as Mike, our producer, just said.
Sold the deck chair. Ah, dearie me. So now it's getting really interesting. 40 seconds to go here in the race for our first of three. There's Simon Crane. There is our leader. He's now going through juries for the final time.
Yeah,
so
is this helping Crossland?
This could help Crossland because there's actually he might have a bit of a friendly face in the form of Aaron Martin Pilkington. He's gone one way and then the other. And that is the 4:58 of Martin Dergala, who is the AM class leader. Crossland nearly gets sideways coming out of Surtees. We're on the final lap number 43 of this race. He could get a bit of a tow here, but I think he's going to have to wait to see what happens between Dergala and Martin Pilkington. As Dergala trying to close on the McLaren, Martin Pilkington runs wide. Crossland furiously he sends it like nobody's business after flashing the lights of Dergala. He goes, "Oh, sorry, Charlie, I'll get out your way."
I did say half a race ago, Charlie was quite aggressive, and that just typified the point sort of thing. I mean, but it was all clean. He didn't do anything wrong, but he just sent that down the inside. There was no mistake in his intentions there to put a lap on that car, and he was going through. But I think it's all too little too late for Crossland, as Crane is coming round now to take round 1 P1. Well done to Simon Crane on a fantastic race and a good result.
Charlie Crossland finishes in second position, 2.2 seconds. Regan Mitchell rounds out the top three. Stephen Haley finishes 7/10 behind the number 69 McLaren. Ross McGregor with a wounded Bentley comes across the line in 5th position after that first lap altercation between himself and Simon Crane. And I think that all these results will be provisional. Dave Hedges in 6th, Yannick Muller in the 143. Apex Predator Racing Ferrari comes across the line in 7th. Carolis Sipavicius in the Nissan takes 8th place. Roberto Santoro in the number 78 Ferrari comes through Clark Curve for the final time and will take 9th place at the flag. So 4 Ferraris in the top 10. Lucas Zentales in the 102, who managed to bravely fight off Miles Dixon, takes 10th position. And Martin Dergala is confirmed provisionally as your AM class winner here this evening. Miles Dixon takes 11th. Great result for Stein Passpont, who will very shortly cross the line. He does so in 12th place. Aaron Martin Pilkington takes 11th. Takes 13th ahead of Mikos. Tovila Vicious will finish behind Brandl and that's 2 Porsches there. But that was a really, really interesting race. Obviously, these results are provisional pending the stewards' inquiry. There will, I think, very much, Steve, be some protests fired in by some of our drivers.
Yeah, definitely. As we say, we don't catch everything on camera. It's not possible, so I'm sure there'll be some protests. The drivers all have the right to protest at the end of the race. They'll fill a form in, the stewards will receive it, and as Alex said earlier, there'll be a stewards meeting tomorrow evening with a panel of stewards, and the drivers are welcome to join and listen to how the stewards reach their decisions. So the results could change yet, but hopefully not. We always like to see things decided on the track, and what a race that was, Alex. Absolutely fantastic. From lights out to the checkered flag, battling throughout the field. Brands Hatch did not disappoint.
Indeed. Well, Steve, I think we've got some drivers waiting in the interview room. I think you might want to pop down there, mate, and have a chat with them.
Yeah, no problem at all. I'll jump down and see who's turned up for an interview.
Yeah, I got that on the 7th lap.
Chaps,
Good evening.
Good evening. So I'll go to Charlie if I can first. Second place, mate. Good result for the championship at the first round, but I'm maybe thinking you thought it could have been better if things had gone your way a little bit more.
It could have gone my way a bit more. I had puncture after 7 laps, so I was just on the back foot after the whole race. So I let Muller free to chase down Thingy, and it ended up working.
Yeah, well, you showed some good pace in the Mercedes, and you were putting good lap times in, considering you had a puncher. Then that was an awesome drive, and especially towards the end of the race, because you were again, you got that gap down to sort of 1.5 seconds, I believe, maybe less, and then on the last lap, having to put a lap on a car, it was a very assertive, very aggressive overtake, all clean, no contact, but yeah, you weren't taking no for an answer. I think you were still pushing even in the dying seconds of the race there, mate.
Yeah.
Well done, and solid championship points, and on to Kyalami for round 2. So you start practicing now and get that set up tune, buddy.
Yeah.
Well done, mate. If I can go to Regan Mitchell, solid finish for you as well, Regan. Difficult race, was it?
Hello. Yeah. Well, it was at the end. Yeah. I couldn't be aggressive at the end. I was more like survive. Don't crash and don't get overtaken by Haley. I was down 2 psi on the right rear as well.
And how did you find it in the McLaren? Because obviously I think that's your first time out, other than the pre-season race. That's your first time out in the McLaren, isn't it? In the championship.
Yeah, McLaren's pretty good. Well, at the start of the race it is. I've got to work out how to keep the rear tyres from dying, and then I think it'll be really good for the rest of the season.
And your thoughts on the rest of the drivers? It was a pretty strong field out there tonight as well, wasn't it? There was some pretty fast pace.
I noticed in the race last week we've got 10 people that at any point could take a podium, so it's really hard to stay at the top.
Indeed, and I think that makes it all the more important that even when you're not running at the top, you've just got to take what points you can get, because who knows at the next round where you're going to be. Like you say, in relation to that top 10, it could be a podium or it could be 10th.
Yeah, exactly.
Well done on tonight's race, buddy. It was absolute pleasure to watch everybody. But I'm going to move over to Steve Haley, who had a more than interesting race.
Yeah, I'd just like to start by apologising to Aaron. We had a bit of a coming together. I think Dingledale, I think it is. I can't remember what they call the corner, but yeah, I think maybe a little bit too ambitious there. Ambition overtook the talent. I think as they say.
Yeah, it was. We could see that you obviously took a very tight line through there over the curb, and it just pushed you out a little bit wide and led to the contact with Aaron. But from there, for both of you, it was about a sort of a damage limitation and a recovery drive. And unfortunately, Aaron had another incident a little bit later on in the race, but still managed to get a reasonable result in this race and a good finish. But you had a really good battle at one point with Mr. McGregor, another guy on a recovery drive. I'm not quite sure what happened when you got past him. It almost looked like he lifted a little bit and let you finish the move off. I'm not quite sure if he did, or whether you just managed to get that drive in the Ferrari and managed to just get the top end speed on him a little bit, because the Bentley looked mighty powerful on the at the top end.
It was pretty good. I think the only kind of place I could perhaps even try and get him was getting a good drive up the hill. But yeah. Ross, I think he did lift and let me through. It was a good battle, and also my teammate as well, Davey, also kind of lifted and let us through. I don't know if he had any kind of issues or whatever, but yeah, I think another couple of laps may have been able to go on the podium. But I mean, as Regan and Charlie had said. Pressure loss was a problem on the right rear. Also for me, just riding them curbs too hard and knocking the wind out of them. But I mean, the pace was good. The Ferrari was great the whole race through. Started to drop off a little bit at the pace, but I mean, it was great. It was a good race.
Yeah, well done, buddy. And like I say, I mean, anybody taking part tonight, it was, there's some very quick guys out there. And as Regan said, 1 week you could be on the podium, the next week you might be struggling for 10th place. So it's all to play for, and every single point is valuable because it's only a short championship. It's 6 rounds. So well done on the race tonight, mate. Great battling and a good result.
Thank you very much. Well, congratulations to the top 3.
Yep, and I'm going to move to Ross McGregor now. I'm just going to. We've got Simon Crane in here, but I'm just going to keep him waiting for a little bit longer because I want to speak to Ross. Ross, you were just the fastest man out there in qualifying, all by the very smallest of margins, but it just didn't go your way in the opening laps. Do you want to just talk us through that sort of first part?
Yeah, I'm never a good qualifier, so when I started pole, I thought, well, this is going to be good, isn't it? But it never really transpired. So first lap, me and Simon had a decent sort of getaway. We were basically side by side for the first half of the lap, and then just coming through towards, I'm not sure, just before Dingledale or Westfield. I don't know, it was like side by side contact, but whatever happened sent me stage left and into the barriers, and I was pretty lucky to rejoin only 11th or something like that.
Yeah, I think you were 11th or 10th. So you were 10th when I caught up with you. So I think you're about right there.
So it was a decent amount of damage, and from that point on, I thought that was the race kind of finished. It kind of was for me because I couldn't really have the same pace I had before. Although I don't know if I've got fastest lap or not. I think I set a 23.7 or something like that. But
I'm not quite. I'd have to check on that, to be honest. But I mean, from your point of view, and we always say this, when guys get involved in incidents like that, it is really frustrating. But it's absolute 100% credit to anybody, like yourself, like Steve. When you have those incidents, it's head down and you keep going because it's about damage limitation. And to drag yourself back up to 5th place in this strength of field with damage on the car, it sets a good precedent for you for the rest of the championship. I mean, Kyalami, I mean, how do you think you'll fare there?
I've never driven any laps at Kyalami in this game, so I've no idea. But I just want to add that I also had 2 right side punctures on the car from about 20 minutes onwards. So by the end of the race, I was like almost 1.5 to 2 seconds a lap slower than what I should have been. And the rear right was like 24 psi, so it was what I would call suboptimal.
Yeah, well, I mean, that answers some questions for us because we were talking about tyre wear and we were saying, obviously the guys are going to be suffering from a little bit of tyre wear, although we didn't expect the tyres to wear out. But after around about 25-30 minutes, we could visibly see the lap times for everybody were coming down. So I'm thinking everybody was pretty much suffering the same issue of riding the curbs a little bit too hard. The track temperature was round about 23-22 degrees, so the colder temperatures of the track, they also, they don't help when you're riding the curbs quite hard. So that answers the questions for us in the commentary box then. But like I say, well done on the result this evening, and good luck for Kyalami because it is only a short championship, 6 rounds, so every single point counts, and you've done yourself justice tonight, Ross.
Thank you very much.
No problem. I'm going to move to Simon Crane, who at the moment has got his mic muted. So if you want to unmute your mic, Simon, and we can have a chat. Good evening, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, you?
Yeah, very well. I mean, that has to be said. A good, strong qualifying performance. Just couldn't quite put it on pole position by a couple of thousandths of a second, I believe. But it was good enough to get you on the front row. Yourself and Ross got a fantastic start. From where we saw it, there was a little bit of door rubbing, which Ross came off worse. But I'm not quite sure that anyone can apportion any blame anywhere. It just looked like side-by-side contact. And it looked like you were going to sort of run away with the race, but there were 2 or 3 points in the race where the guys behind you, Muller and Crossland, both managed to close the gap down and almost start to put some pressure on you, Simon.
Yeah, qualifying I was quite surprised about. There's definitely a good result, I'd say, from where I was. I think towards the end I just missed the line by like a second, so I had another lap in there, which was 2/10 up, so I think I had a bit more time in qualifying, but I think it was good second place there. And then the race turn 1, I think me and Ross are basically side by side for most of the lap until that corner where we came together, unfortunately. But I think Robin's race in that corner is so tight, you trying to get around there 2 by 2 is kind of quite difficult. But unfortunately Ross had a bit of a crash. But
Yeah, I think on the whole, to get that many cars around Brands Hatch on the opening few laps with as few incidents as there were, I think is testament to all the drivers on the grid. And as I said to Ross, for credit to him for getting his car back up to 5th place and putting in a solid performance. But top honours go to you this evening, Simon. Great result, soaked up the pressure when you had to. Muller got caught up with the back markers that spun at Druids, which put paid to his challenge on you, and at that point Charlie Crossland was too far back, although he did get within around about a second of you in the last few laps, but I think it was all too little too late. So well done on the podium, on the win this evening, and taking that forward to Kyalami. What are your chances there, buddy?
I think it's one of our probably top tracks that we enjoy at Pulse, so we kind of run well around there, so hopefully we can get another top 3. But this championship's so tough and competition so good, you're trying to get consistent results is going to be difficult, but hopefully we can do that.
Yeah, well, as Regan said, this week you're on the top step. Next week it could be 10th place. I mean, your teammate Miles was in 10th place tonight, so hopefully maybe we can see him on the podium next week. It could all be swings and roundabouts with this amount of cars on the grid, and as we said, the depth of field, the quality that's there. So well done on the win. That is an awesome job tonight, Simon, and good luck for next week. Thank you very much.
No worries, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Steve.
Well, Alex, fantastic interviews there from the guys. Good insight into the racing this evening, and fantastic opener to the season.
Indeed it is, Steve. Real congratulations to everyone that competed and was able to make it to the finish at the end of it all. That really wraps it up here for Simsport Racing for the season opener. So in 2 weeks' time, we'll be heading to the Kyalami circuit in South Africa for 90 minutes on the 24th of January. And you can see the rest of your calendar on the screens now. But I did mention earlier on in the broadcast that we have a bit of breaking news reference GT4 Season 4. And there are 2 bits of news. Steve Proudly, my co-commentator at the moment, is heading back into the sim racing world, aren't you, Steve? Because you're getting your elbows out well and truly starting from Imola on Wednesday.
I am, mate, and I'm teaming up with Kieran Vidago. Hence, I'm hoping he's well enough to race, because I need someone to carry the team. I'm a little bit nervous after nearly 12 months out of league racing. I've done the odd race here and there, but no league racing. And after watching the GT3s tonight, good God, it's fierce.
I think definitely you're sort of trying to not count your chickens before they hatch, my friend.
No, definitely not, mate. I will set a target for myself, and I'm hoping for potentially sort of a top 10, top 15. I'll be happy with. But if I can keep it in the reverse grid area, I'll be more than happy with that.
Okay, with that being said, I'd like to introduce my new co-commentator for GT4 Season 4. You might remember him as one of our drivers for the last few seasons. He's had a few love affairs with a Ginetta or maybe a BMW M4. Tim Fulbrook from HF Impala is my new co-commentator for GT4 Season 4. Well, welcome on board, first of all, Mr. Fulbrook.
Hi, Alex. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really excited to join the team, try and bring my experience from what is a frenetic and exciting championship, see if I can bring some of an inside look really onto what is a really exciting series, and see if I can help you guys explain the madness that's going out on track at the time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Tim, thank you very much. I know, Tim's actually been with us this whole time, but I'm going to bring in briefly someone that's been also oohing and ahhing as well. Brian Larson has been sort of sitting by the sidelines. Good evening, Brian. What did you think of that one for a Simsport Racing season opener then?
Oh, it seems like a lot of work sitting here looking and follow all the details in the race. No question about it. I mean, I was trying to bid in a couple of times, but I thought no, it would just mess it up. So, but good job, guys. Really good job.
Oh, and it's been a pleasure having a chat with you before we went on air. So, big thank you to Tim Fulbrook and Brian Larson for joining us.
Can I just say as well, sorry Alex to interrupt, I just want to say to Tim,
I'm thanking you now, mate. And I might not thank you after the first round, but thank you very, very much for stepping in and helping out to cover me while I go scratch an itch and go race the GT4s, as it were. I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, well, it's fine, Steve. I mean, good luck, I suppose, is all I can say from experience. It's definitely, might bring the car back with a little less pain than it started with, but I'm sure you'll do fine.
I'm sure I will, and I'm sure you two guys will be very kind to me in the commentary box.
Oh, of course, anyway.
Indeed. Well, well, who knows if Mr. Proudy's going to get enough screen coverage come Imola on Wednesday. We'll find out about that one. But thank you very much, everyone, for watching at home. Above all, stay safe. We'll see you on Wednesday for the season opener. Round 1 at Autodromo Enzo Guidino Ferrari at Imola for Season 4 GT4. And rejoin us back in 2 weeks' time for Round 2 of Season 5 GT3 at Kyalami. Stay safe and good night.
Good night.